Guys, in this video, I'm going to talk you through some of the key considerations that you must understand when you're jumping on the scales throughout your transformation process. So let's get into the points that we need to know when we're weighing ourselves. Now, our body is 55 to 60% water. So hydration levels are going to have a huge impact when we jump on the scales. Now, if we are dehydrated, then obviously we're going to weigh lighter. And if we're overly hydrated, then we're going to be heavier. So you need to understand that the time of day when you get on the scale and your hydration levels are going to play a really big part in what the scale reads back to you. Which leads me on to point number 2. So point number 2 is carbohydrate intake. If we break the word down carbohydrate, it's carbo and then hydrate. So this means that when we eat carbs, our body is going to attract water. It needs to attract water to push them to where they need to go to. Now, the problem is whenever we eat 1 gram of carbohydrate, we can actually attract from 2.5 to 4 grams of water. So we know from the previous point that water has a weight to it. Therefore, if we have a high carbohydrate meal or a high carbohydrate diet, we're going to weigh a bit heavier, which is also going to go back to you need to know what time of day you're jumping on the scales to make sure it reads back to you how you want it to read. Then we have something which is known as inflammation. Now, inflammation, simply put, is your body's way of recovering from training. Whether that's weight training, cardiovascular training, your body is going to produce inflammation, therefore you're going to be heavier on the scale. So we need to be mindful of what time we trained, how often we're training, and how our body is recovering to make sure the scale weight is reading back how we want it to read. Then we have sodium level. Now, sodium is also going to attract a lot of water. So if we have a diet which is high in sodium, high in salt, therefore our scales are going to reflect that when we jump on them. Now, really, when you've got these 4 key points, there's one thing that we really need to focus on. And that is the process of moving along your transformation journey. Now, we know when we've got these 4 things to consider that the scale weight is not always going to be in our favor. However, there's some things that you can always keep control of. And that is making sure that you're collecting data every week throughout your transformation journey. So making sure you're weighing yourself weekly, collecting that data, making sure you're getting your measurements as you move forwards, collecting that data. And then finally, the most important thing that you need is visuals, collecting visual pictures of yourself as you move through your transformation journey. And when you collect those 3 things, so your weekly weights, your pictures, and your measurements, they're the real indicators. So guys, you're going to have fluctuations on the scale. It could be to do with the 4 points we've talked about in this video. But the most important thing is to stay consistent and trust the process and collect the 3 pieces of data that I've just spoke about. And that is how you're going to get to your transformation journey.